Hey guys, welcome to Taku E4 E5. Today we're going to be talking about special moves in chess. Now, what are special moves in chess, you might be asking? Special moves are exceptions to the normal way of moving pieces. They have their own unique conditions and rules. If you would like to know how chess pieces move normally, check out our previous video on the same. There are three special moves in chess, and these are castling and passant and promotion. Let's start with castling. Castling is a special move in chess whereby the king moves 2 squares towards either rook, then you put the rook in question on the first square that the king passes. To illustrate this, we will look at the only two ways to castle the king, namely the short castling or kingside castling and long castling or queenside castling. Kingside castling. If you look at the starting position, you will notice that the white king on the e1 square is separated from the rook on the right side, which is standing on the h1 square, by 2 squares between them. The king will move 2 squares toward the rook from e1 to g1. Then he would take the rook on h1 and put it on f1. It is the square adjacent to the king on the left side. We call the right side the king side because the queen is absent on that side. Notice how the king is not really in the middle, but is more on the right side than the left side. It helps show that the left side is different because this is where the queen is present. Long castling. If you look at the starting position again, you will notice that the white king stands on the e1 square while the rook on the left side stands on the a1 square. These two pieces are separated by 3 squares and not 2, like how it is with the rook on the right side. The king moves 2 squares to the left, landing on c1, then the castle will be placed on d1. Okay, so now we'll talk about the basic rules for castling. To castle, there must be no pieces between the king and the rook in question. To castle, you have to make sure that there is no bishop, knight or queen in the way. For instance, in order to castle this king, you first have to develop your pieces or move them away from the squares that are involved. Follow a sequence like this one. Okay, number 2. You can only castle if the king or the rook in question have not moved. Your opponent can stop you from castling if they force you to move either piece. For instance, in this illustration, the knight puts the king on check like this, and it cannot be captured. So the king is forced to move. When it does move, it will no longer have the right to castle. Number 3. The king must not be in check. The king must not be under direct threat from the opponent's pieces. Since the king must not move, you can only remove a check and reserve the right to castle by capturing the threatening piece or blocking the check with another piece. Number 4. The king cannot pass through or land on a square under attack by an opposing piece. You cannot do long castling with the white king on e1 if a black bishop attacks the d square from h5. The the king will be passing through a threatened piece, and this is not allowed. Similarly, you cannot do long castling if the bishop threatens the c1 square from f4. It is landing on a threatened square. However, castling will be permitted if the black bishop threatens the b1 square from e4. Why? Because the king is not passing through a threatened square, and it is also not landing on a threatened square. Now let's talk about some things to consider before castling. Castling early. Chess coaches say that castling is good for development, so it is recommended that you castle early. Castling early is usually advantageous because it removes the king from the center, where it is more vulnerable to attacks. Defensively, the king will be tucked away behind 3 pawns that act like bodyguards in a corner. With the king out of the way, attacking also becomes easier, as pieces that were on the right side of the king or left side, when it comes to long castling, will be able to cooperate more smoothly with pieces that were on the left side or right side in the case of long castling. Choose wisely before castling. I know you often wonder which side is better for castling. Is it the queen side or the king side castling which is better? Well, castling on the king side is usually a good option because the king will be more defended than when you castle on the queen side. However, in terms of attacking, castling on the queen side can be advantageous because the castle will be placed on a more central position, attacking the center, especially if there is no d pawn on the d file is open. Also, consider how the opponent is attacking you or moving their pieces around. If there are too many pieces attacking the king side, for instance, it would be a bad idea to castle on that side. It will be in your best interest to castle on the side where there is less. If you take too long to castle, you may end up forfeiting your right to castle altogether, because the king is more likely to move as the game goes on, as well as the rook. And if you take too long, chances are that the pawns that are supposed to defend the king may be used up or may be forced to move, making the defense in the corner weaker. So it is best that you castle early. So, what does castling do? Castling protects the king. The king is vulnerable on the center because it constantly worries about being attacked on either its right or its left flank, or worse, being attacked on both flanks at once. Move your king into a safe square. Then your king will only have to worry about straight ahead and one flank, where all of its army will be. You have 3 pawns that will be guarding you and 2 castles that are connected. Which brings us to our next point. Castling also helps activate the castles, the rooks. Rooks become more actively involved, influencing similar areas and working together. Rooks also tend to influence the condition in the center. Now let's talk about our second special move, en passant. In en passant, your pawn is on the 5th rank. such as this white pawn that is standing on e5. Next, the opponent moves a black pawn that is on the neighboring file, such as the f file, 2 squares landing immediately to the adjacent square, or the f square immediately beside the white pawn. The black f square would have been captured if it had moved only 1 square, but now that it is on the f5 square, it can no longer be captured by the e5. En passant means in passing in French. The white pawn captures the pawn like it is a normal capture, while the black pawn is in the middle of passing the white pawn. It will move to f6 and the black pawn is out of the game. Have you ever wondered why this special move exists? Well, in history, while chess was still being developed, pawns were only allowed to move 1 square at a time. Around the 15th century, somebody decided, you know what? We should let pawns move 2 squares on their first move in order to speed up the game. However, now we had the problem whereby pawns could escape pending danger. Therefore, to keep things fair, the en passant rule was added. You can only do en passant if the opponent moves 2 squares to the adjacent square of the pawn in question. And you can only do en passant if the opponent moves 2 squares to the adjacent square right away. You cannot carry out the en passant move after 1 turn. That means immediately after the opponent moves those squares, you have to do the en passant or you won't be able to. You can only do en passant if you move the pawn, if your pawn is on the 5th rank, the position where the opponents can land to the adjacent square after their 2 square move. Now let's look at our third special move, pawn promotion. Promotion occurs when the pawn reaches the 8th rank on the opposite side of the board. When it does, it ceases to be a pawn and becomes any of the pieces that start on the back rank, except the king, of course. So, once the pawn reaches the 8th rank, it can become a queen, a rook, a bishop, or a knight. Why does this special move exist? Well, promotion exists to make pawns far more important and increases strategic options in general. It exists to make the game more exciting. The pawn is the weakest piece on the board, but its value subjectively increases as it gets closer to the last rank. Pawns on 6th and 7th rank possess a large pull on the outcome of the game compared to pawns that are on the 4th, 3rd, or 2nd rank. Promoting to a queen is the most popular option for a pawn promotion. Chess players often call it queening. Many beginner games can have up to 5 queens on the board. Having at least 2 queens makes checkmate more likely, but watch out for stalemate or draw positions where your opponent cannot move, but at the same time their king is not in check